Mr. Williams, I wanted to talk with you about S 1857. I'm interested in the comment that Mr. Walk just made, that 73% of the wood pellet stoves are already in compliance with Step 2, which I understand from your testimony, there hasn't been developed by EPA a sufficient testing compliance standard or testing regime. Can you clarify that difference in?
I think some of the confusion is that when you look at the October listing of the EPA certified appliances, there are over 500 appliances that currently meet Step 1. Of that, there's roughly less than 10% that actually qualify for the Step 2 emission standards.
Of the Step 1, only 10% qualify for the Step 2?
Yes, I think the latest number was something like 20 and 26 or something like that, that actually qualify. Now, they've not all gone through the test yet. The pellet stove test standard, while they do, and we think that they will be a low-hanging fruit and qualify, the Step 1 standard they qualified under, but Step 2 will require that they all be retested. That test will require a significant cost of another $5,000 per. On the wood stove front, while there is an approved consensus-based test method for everything, it is a crib-based method. And one of the avenues that people want to explore and the EPA is really wanting to go to is a cordwood, a real-world test method, how people actually burn their cordwoods, or their real wood stoves. And that test method hasn't been approved yet. That's something that's still in the works.
So, I mean, it would be hard to be compliant if you don't have a test to know whether you're compliant.
That is a challenge that we have, and as I stated, we have been forced by the retailers that we sell to that they will not start stocking products as early as next year if they're not 2020. They do not want to be burdened with product they cannot sell in 2020.
Okay.
Any inventory that's left over, they will not take.
Let me clarify, too, that this bill simply asks for a 3-year extension. You're not asking to not comply with Step 2.
That is correct. We're small businesses in rural communities. We welcome the Clean Air Act. We helped develop the data that crafted this in SPS. All we're asking for is a little bit of time so that we don't jeopardize the manufacturers, the employees, the retailers, and the end consumer.
Seems to me as well that if you don't have the correct protocol in place, that you could run the risk from the consumer standpoint of running their old stoves, keeping something that maybe has gone through its shelf life, can't afford a new one, maybe even have worse environmental circumstances than if you got it right this first time and had the Step 2 compliance and correct. Am I seeing that correctly?
Yes. I think we're already seeing that from the example that we've seen in Pritchard, West Virginia.
Right.
They're selling 42 furnaces. Now people who do not have an affordable option, they're going to hold on to their older burning stoves.
Mr. Kirsting, on the S203, I'm kind of, West Virginia University was very, very instrumental in detecting the emissions defeat devices. So we're very proud of that in our state. I think we're conflating two major issues here with what is actually going on in a narrow slice of life in terms of racing cars. Could you make the distinction on, if you can, on cheating on emissions on a broad scale like we saw,
Sure.
and what your sports enthusiasts are really doing?
Sure. So the VW instance is a case where vehicle manufacturers are required to certify vehicles before they go out on the road. Those vehicles then have systems in them that will help maintain that vehicle in certified compliance. VW, like many manufacturers, they put millions of vehicles on the road. What VW did there was an intentional program to hide a defeat device in the system for vehicles that are being sold new, where no one would see or know that that defeat device was there. In the case of the racing industry converting a vehicle, those products are marketed, they're known. In the case of products that end up on the street as illegal tampering, again, those products are marketed. EPA has the access to see those products, and that's why enforcement action does take place under the Act in the cases of street tampering. The situation here is that EPA has proposed a ban against all activity that would convert a certified vehicle for any purpose, including racing. That makes enforcement for EPA with regard to street tampering a pretty simple matter. It throws the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay, let me ask just a quick question. You mentioned the 1,300 racetracks. How many vehicles, I know that's kind of maybe a tough question, but how many vehicles would
I
that?
actually don't have a specific number of vehicles. We could round that up and
Yeah,
supply
I'd
it
be
after the
interested
fact.
in
But there are thousands and thousands of race vehicles out there.
Okay.
And, more every day.
Okay, thank you.